Minnesota, New Mexico State, Oklahoma State opens up tonight. UAB, Savannah State, Texas A&M, Northwestern State. Yeah.
So I'll turn this around really quick and get it out so people can listen to it through the weekend.
All right.
All right, so I'm gonna hit this one over here, and I'm gonna count us in. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Know the Score. I'm your host, Don Delarente, and I'm joined by my co-host, the Libra icon, Dwayne. What's going on, man?
Not much. I'm actually just waking up, so it's a good day, and it's an even better day because football is back.
Yes, on this edition of Know the Score, we're going to give you guys a college football preview as the Labor Day weekend is upon us, and that means that college football is now in full swing. So, right off the bat, we'll start with the AP preseason top 10. As at number 1, the defending champion, Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 2, the Clemson Tigers. Number 3, last year's national runner-up, the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 4, the Wisconsin Badgers. Number 5, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Number 6, the Washington Huskies. Number 7, the Oklahoma Sooners. And number 8, the Miami Hurricanes. At number 9, the Auburn Tigers. And at number 10, the Penn State Nittany Lions. So Alabama is going to come into this season with a really huge question, and that's at quarterback. So, Dwayne, I'm going to bring you in and pose to you, who is the better option at quarterback for Alabama? Is it Tua? I can't even say his last name, so I'm not going to try. Or Jalen Hurts? Tua was the redshirt freshman who came in second half of the national championship game last year, brought Alabama all the way back, had that dramatic touchdown pass in the last seconds to win the game versus Georgia. Or the veteran Jalen Hurts, who's is a senior this year, has put in all the time and been pretty consistent there for Alabama.
Well, oh man, this is crazy. I would say right now you gotta stick with Jalen Hurts. Yes, Jalen was ineffective in the game against Georgia, but also you gotta look at the defense. The defense was pretty solid in that game, and then when Tagovailoa Tua Tagovailoa came in and turned that whole game around, and even now, he is one of the Heisman favorites, but he hasn't won the job yet. But I think if you put Jalen in, he's on a short leash pretty much, and so you really just can't count Jalen Hurts out. But we saw how short the leash was. Nick Saban had to make a crucial decision in that national championship game, and he put in somebody that Georgia had never seen before and was not ready for. And we saw the results in a very thrilling national championship game a year ago. So it's a tough situation. I mean, kind of a blessed situation because he got two very good and very effective quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts has had a solid record since being the quarterback number 1 at Alabama, and then Tagovailoa has just as much of a shot to supplant him and have a great season and even be a Heisman pick. So, but like I said, I'll go with Jalen, but on a very, very short leash, very little margin of error. If that doesn't work, yeah, you put Tagovailoa in, and then maybe you kind of just put both of them in, rotate them out, change the pace, see what happens.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you foresee maybe them doing kind of like a old Steve Spurrier thing where they kind of split the game up a little bit, where he starts out, see who's hot, and then whoever is hot plays until he's not so hot anymore, and then he brings the other one back in. How he used to do back in Florida days.
I was thinking that too. That's why That's one of the reasons why in the end I kind of alluded towards that because um, you can't go wrong with either quarterback in the grand scheme of things, and you can't go wrong with either quarterback at the end of the day where both teams are looking to elevate themselves and be a better version of themselves. So we just gotta wait and see.
All right. Now, as far as the top 10, the preseason top 10, was there any surprises to you? A team that made it in that got ranked in the top 10 and you thought, that's a little high for them to start the season?
Mm, no, I think everybody's rightfully ranked right now. I think, of course, Alabama is the top team in the land, and Clemson's right there along with UGA. Wisconsin really is a very good team. Ohio State's a tough team, but effective team in spite of all the distractions they've had going on. Washington is really the sleeper of the bunch. They got a huge game Saturday afternoon against Auburn, who's really going to be the team that is Alabama's biggest threat as usual. Rivalry game. Both teams are very good. You can't wait to see how the season plays out, and the Iron Bowl comes into play for what's likely the SC West title. Penn State, I think Penn State was ranked a little bit low, but they're like a piece or two away from really being a really really threat to the top three up there. And I think Miami's ranked where they should be, and we saw the start they had last year, and then the very very ugly finish. So it's kind of like the typical Mark Richt kind of season, having a great start and a very not so great finish, and uh, hopefully the Canes will finish the job. And being a Miami fan, that's what I'm hoping happens. But at least we'll look good doing it.
All right. Now, I want to ask you, who do you think has the potential to crash the playoffs who are outside the top 10 to start the season? So at number 11, we have Michigan State. At number 12, we have Notre Dame. 13 is Stanford. 14 is Michigan. And 15 is USC, Southern California. So out of those five teams, which one of those guys has a chance to crash the playoffs?
Well, let's see. I'm gonna try to be as neutral as I can because it's always fuck Notre Dame everything. So, um, I will say that Stanford or USC probably has the best chance to crash the party, especially USC. Whoever usually is one of those teams from the Pac-12, along with it's a three-team race in the Pac-12. Stanford, USC, and UW. But since we're talking about outside the top 10, or I would say that USC has probably the best chance, and I really even will say right now is West Virginia. If West Virginia can pull things together, if they can get the favorable schedule going, and they can get down to Oklahoma and beat the Sooners in Norman and win the Big 12 title, they could be on the outside looking in. So that's a possibility as well. I didn't think West Virginia was that good, but looking at the roster, looking at their quarterback situation, they got one more year from Will Greer here, who's a Charlotte product. Um, and I think there is a very, very good chance that they could crash the party. And that would be one huge situation that nobody saw coming.
I think it's going to have to start right off the bat, though, out of the gate. But just because of their schedule, Michigan has a chance because they play Michigan State, they're playing Notre Dame, and they're playing Ohio State. And if they can come through those three games unscathed and then, don't slip up, I don't think they play Wisconsin in the season. They'd have to play them in the Big Ten game. But if they can get those three, and even if they were to maybe lose a close game to Wisconsin, I think Michigan has a chance to sneak in there.
Michigan is very good, and they got the quarterback now. Shea Patterson, the transfer from Ole Miss. After all the Ole Miss drama that went down in Oxford this over the last several years, they have a good chance. I could see that as well. I did kind of omit them out of my top 15 there. Um, but I could see that. I do agree with you there, though.
All right, so let's get into it. Who do you think are going to be the four teams to make the playoffs? This has been basically the Alabama Invitational. They've been into the playoffs all 3 years it's been around, and they played in the championship game all 3 years, winning two and losing an all-time classic to Clemson. So your four teams that are going to be in this year's college football playoffs are?
Oh man, you got us already on the spot. Okay, Alabama, of course. Clemson. The reason why I say Clemson because they are still the kings of the ACC. They proved how much of a gap they have over everybody else right now. Even as good as Miami can be, they still have the Clemson problem to figure out. And so, only team that can stop Clemson is Clemson, or if they get a road game in a difficult environment, that could be detrimental to their chances. Um, Third, I would say Georgia because Georgia is Georgia's literally right there, and they had Alabama dead to rights until the switch happened and Tua went wild. So I think that I think Kirby Smart's guys have enough to get back to the college football playoff and win it all. But they had to be really, really disciplined and prepare for any kind of any kind of open season. And the last team is going to be tough, but I'm going to say, on the spot, I hate this. Okay, the last team I'm going to say is possibly USC. I think USC can, like I said, they were my pick to crash the party. I think they could get by Stanford. I think they can get by Washington in the Pac-12 title game. I think Clay Helton has those guys on the West Coast ready to go, and I think they can make noise and find their way into a matchup with um with Bama.
All right. I'm going to go with Alabama, of course. I think Wisconsin is going to make it. I think they're going to have a really good season this year. I think Washington is going to represent the Pac 10 or Pac 12 this year. They're going to get a team in there. And then that last team, I'm torn between Clemson and Georgia. I just, I'm not sure about, Clemson's coming back with most of all their players, but Georgia's coming back with, their whole defense except for, a couple of guys. So if it had to just put me on the spot, I'd say Clemson just because they're playing a little bit weaker conference overall. So those would be my four picks. Now, as we talk about this, every year it seems like there's a conference or two that's getting left out. Last year it was the Pac-12 they got left out. The year before that it was the Big 12 they got left out. Do you see this thing going to 8 teams in the near future? And do you think the change will be that the 5 power conferences champions will automatically make it, and then you get 3 bids to be at large?
I hope it doesn't go to 8 teams. I think we've been clamoring for a playoff. We knew this was gonna happen, regardless. Regardless of how many teams you put in, because this is gonna happen every single year. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament in basketball. You got four teams. You got four teams in. Well, this team should have been in. That team should have been in. Why is there
But the
selection?
thing about it is, though, unlike college basketball, you if you win your conference, you going. So that's kind of the change I would like to make them see. Is you got these five power conferences. You got the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Big Ten. So those are the five majors. So all of those people should be represented if this is a playoff.
But we knew what was going. The thing is, I get that and everything, but we knew when this was created that there was going to be somebody left out,
Yes,
and
I don't. If I was on that committee, if I would have saw how that looked with five teams, I would have just tried to push for the eight to start because that means every conference gets a share of the playoff money.
but
That was
then,
poor
but
planning on their part.
it was poor planning. But you also got to look you got to look at schools years. You got to look at classes. I mean, even though this is the NCAA we're talking about, and
Right.
NCAA is a bunch of
I mean,
bullshit.
all they're gonna
I
do
get it.
is when they
There's
move
this.
it,
There's
it
so much. There's still so many logistics though. You have to
right.
look at.
But
In order. Then not just. I mean, if you really want to do the playoff with 8 teams, then that long break between the end of the season and the bowl games. Maybe you could throw a first or second round in there.
yeah, that's exactly what would happen. Is that during that long break, you would just put those games in there. Then start the boat. In theory, they could always push the season up by a week, and then give you more time on the backside to play the extra playoff games if they needed to. Believe
My
me,
my only concern is then, okay, we got 8 now. Whenever a group of 5 is left out, what about the other 5 conferences? Why are there in championship? Why are their champions not in it? So then it becomes, hey, should we go 16 or should we go 10 or 12 with teams getting a bye? Then you got to worry about if it's like I said, it's just the more it's going to be, of course, boiling down to the power of the dollar. Picking the games that picking the games that are prestigious enough as a bowl game to host the host the first and second rounds, and then you got the
oh, that would be easy. That would be like the Peach Bowl and the
well, Peach Bowl's already there.
that's already there. It'd be like whatever the next lower tier because it's what the sugar, the
Sugar, Rose,
rose,
Orange,
orange,
Fiesta,
and fiesta, right? So yeah, like the Peach Bowl would be kind of like
Peach
that
and Cotton.
next, yeah, that next tier down. Those would be your first
Yeah.
round game sites or whatever.
So this would be like the Peach and Cotton, and then probably the probably some other game. But I know like the Sugar, Orange, Rose, Fiesta. Those are the classic four, and then
Yeah.
then the Cotton and Peach are the other two
Yeah,
right
so or
now.
the Gator Bowl or whatever. So like whatever that next tier just underneath that major four are, then those will be your sites for your four first round matchups or whatever you want to call
Right. But yeah, I'm just really my main concern though is, yeah, if we're gonna, you gotta first like figure everything out logistically, and then if you're gonna do 8, stick with 8, because it's already. I mean, we already got enough debate with the 4, and then we expand to 8 every single year. Every single time you expand this thing, there's always gonna be somebody left out that might be deserving to be in there,
Right.
and then the whole debate starts again. So that's why I just say right now, just leave it at 4. I get why we should have the conference champions all in it, but at the same, maybe even do this. Put all 5 champions in, put a group of 5 team in, and then give the top 2 teams to buy, and then go from there with
Yeah.
things.
Eventually, they've got to find a way to have all the major football
It's
conferences
going to
represented.
it's
Yeah.
going to happen. I mean, it is going to happen. I mean, I see the writings on the wall because there's going to be too much demand. There's going to be too much debate. Going to be too much complaining from the coaches, from the players, from the fans, from the media like ourselves, and so it's going to happen. I just, my thing is if we are going to go ahead and expand it, just get it out the way now so we don't have this, because it's going to be an annoying debate. I already know.
All right. Just a reminder that this is Know the Score. You can find us on the web at www.cspn.us. You can also find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Play, and Google. So we got our Heisman favorites. We're going to start off with Bryce Love, the running back out in Stanford, Trace McSorley, the quarterback from Penn State, Jonathan Taylor, the running back from Wisconsin, Justin Hubert, the quarterback from Oregon, and Rodney Anderson, the running back from Oklahoma. Those are kind of the 5 names that people are focusing on at the start of the season. If you had to handicap this race, do you think it's Bryce Love's Heisman to lose? Do you think there's somebody that we're not thinking about? Could this be the year that a defensive player makes their way up into the Heisman talk?
Mm, well, I think aside from Bryce Love, he is a heavy favorite. But my focus would be more on Trace McSorley and see what he does with the weapons he has. Like I said, this team that Penn State has right now, they're loaded offensively. It's the defensive side that needs just a little bit of tweaking before we could say they are the heavy favorites to win the Big Ten, but they are definitely a contender in the Big Ten. I think you could look on paper and think you got like five or six teams that could win this Big Ten title: Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State. Yeah, that's 5. Okay, so yeah, you got at least 5 that can win this conference. McSorley's probably my guy. I want to be keeping an eye on. But it is, you could really say it is Bryce Love's Heisman to lose, but I think we'll see a lot of competition from the rest of the guys that are that are among these favorites, and even probably talking about somebody that ain't on the list, maybe even Tua, who has been a Heisman pick already, and he ain't even been named the starter yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see what goes down this season.
I like Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin because we know that if Wisconsin is really good, that their running back is going to be the key cog of their offense.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to have a chance to put up some really big numbers against some really good defenses. And if Wisconsin can make their way into the playoff, I think it's going to be strictly on what Jonathan Taylor does. So if there's anybody else besides Bryce Love who's got a really legitimate shot, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. He's really good. He was really good last year, but I think that he kind of caught on late with people, but they're definitely up on him this year.
Agreed. I can see that.
All right. And then our final little topic is just going to be the marquee matchups for week 1. We have top 10 clash as we have Washington battling Auburn, as you alluded to earlier in the program, Dwayne. We also have Michigan and Notre Dame playing each other for the first time in several years. and Miami is going down to play LSU, as LSU is in, I think they're number 25 in the poll. So out of those three games, let's go ahead and pick some winners. So who do you think about this Washington Auburn game? It's going to be, I think this might be a neutral site game. I don't think it's in Auburn.
Yeah, Saturday. So Saturday afternoon game and yeah, Saturday afternoon game. I am going to go with this one's in Atlanta, Chick-fil-A kickoff. So this one's in Atlanta, pretty much Auburn's backyard.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with the Tigers. War damn Eagle on this one. So um, I think Auburn, that intangible, having that quote unquote neutral site, but it's definitely a SEC country. Washington can get out of here with the win, but I'm gonna go with Auburn on this one. If their rushing attack can get going, and they can suppress they have a good defensive showing. I think they will. I think they'll win and move up in the polls. So my pick is Auburn.
I like Washington's quarterback a whole lot, but I don't think that he's going to be able to overcome, because the last time we saw Washington play a SEC team, it wasn't that pretty.
No.
So, yeah, I just think up front and along the Washington's offensive line versus Auburn's defensive line, I think that's where Auburn's going to win this game. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Auburn as well. Now, Michigan versus Notre Dame, classic, rivalry, but they haven't played each other in quite a while. So, basically, this is right out the gate for Harbaugh. He's got a little heat building underneath his seat, and it might get turned up a little bit more if they come out here and don't show well against Notre Dame. So, who do you got in this game?
Yeah, I think this is a battle of the coaches on the hot seat. I think if Brian Kelly doesn't win this game, his seat might be turned up a little bit more as well. And considering the fact that I hate Notre Dame pretty much Notre Dame everything, almost everything, especially football, I'm going to go with Michigan on this one, just off pure emotion.
All right, gotcha. And then last, we're going to have, like I said, Miami. They're going to be facing LSU. Really tough test for the Hurricanes. They had a really bounce back year last year, basically on the strength of their defense and their running game. But then, Walton went down, and that kind of changed their season around there towards the end of the season. So, who do you see coming out in this game?
The U.
I know that you're a Miami fan, so kind of is your quarterback good enough to navigate the ACC and not have any hiccups when y'all go play, Wake Forest or North Carolina in a game that they're not really supposed to lose, but sometimes the Miami quarterbacks decide that's the games they like to make the most mistakes in.
As long as I would say this, as long as the weather isn't below like 50 degrees, they should be all right. I think that was a turning point last year for Malik Rozier, when they went to Pitt in that cold weather game. They had not played anything below 50 degrees, and life came at them fast pretty quickly. And then the same thing happened in the ACC title game at Clemson, and they just didn't recover in the Orange Bowl, which was a virtual home game against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin trounced them pretty good. So, but I think if the Canes do the Canes handle their business, they should at least go into Charlotte, with the undefeated record, and hopefully they can be more competitive against Clemson. I mean, the last several meetings, Clemson has trounced Miami pretty good, so um, it's it's gonna have to be something they got to work on, but gotta have to take it a week at a time. And this isn't the same LSU team that is that intimidation factor like they have had in the past. There's a lot of question marks on both sides of the ball that we haven't seen before. So that's why I'm kind of just I'm not looking over LSU in any way, shape, or form because they are ranked 25th for a reason. They're still a very, very, very good team. And, but I think a lot of people are already going with LSU because of the intimidation factor in the past. But I would definitely not count the Canes out in this one. So that's why when just go ahead, as a fan, got to support my team going with Miami.
All right. So there's a little bit of the college football preview for the upcoming season. We basically think it's going to be, let me say this. We haven't predicted a champion. Who you think is going to be the champion when it's all said and done?
Does Alabama raise the title again, or do we see somebody different? I hope, and I emphasize the word hope, I hope it's a different team. However, realistically, until they get knocked off the perch, you gotta go with the tide. I mean, to be honest, that's the safest. It's the safest bet, but it's also the surest one because that look at the body of work they've done. They've never missed a playoff. I will say this though: if Alabama loses 2 games, they need to be eliminated from the picture because it's just not. It isn't fair to any 0 or 1 loss teams that they get at large over with 2 losses over someone else more deserving. So,
Well, with the college football landscape, it's all about when you lose
right,
and who you lose to.
this is true.
So, you know, like I'm looking at this Michigan Notre Dame game, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Michigan loses that game and that's the only game they lose, and then Notre Dame, who actually y'all know, if Notre Dame finishes in the whatever, is it like the BCS where they automatically get a bid, or do they have to get voted in too, since they're
They,
not in the conference?
I want to say, that's a good question. Let me look that up real quick. I want to say they do, if they do finish undefeated, they are automatically in, man. So let's see.
Yeah, because they got special rules for them since they're not affiliated with a conference when it comes to football.
Right.
But in Auburn, I mean in Alabama's case, they've always lost to a team that was either ranked in the top 10 or in their championship game. And so it's really hard to take away from them losing, a close game, you know, to one of these, teams that are right here in the top 10. You don't fall that far because the loss isn't that significant. I mean, isn't that bad because you're playing somebody that's comparable to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While you look up the Notre Dame stuff, I think that it's going to be really competitive in the ACC this year. But I think Clemson is going to be battle tested enough to come out and win the championship this year. Bryant has got another year underneath him. He went down last year, and when he came back, he wasn't quite as good. So I think that if he can kind of keep his health through the season, that Clemson's defensive line, they're all four going to get drafted in like the first round of drafts. It's going to be hard to move the ball against those guys. So I just think that Clemson, based on defense and the dynamic at quarterback, is going to be the team to beat for the playoff run.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame has to be voted in this time.
Okay, all right, because I know in the BCS era they had special
They
exemptions
they did.
for them, but
Yeah.
yeah, they really need to gravitate towards somewhere in football. I mean, they should just go ahead and join the Big Ten. I don't know in football. I don't know why
I,
they don't.
I think they were back about 25 years ago, but they turned it down. Uh, but the fact that even though they haven't had the success they've had in the past, it's still a global brand, and they got their own TV deal with NBC. And
Right, right. And it gives them flexibility to have their schedule any way they want it, and they can go
right,
play a Stanford and USC every year, and kind
yeah,
of pick and choose the marquee games that they make marquee.
marquee money, and yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else that you'd like to add before we close this one out, Dwayne, about this upcoming college football season? How about something on the HBCU scene? Anything standing out over there this year?
So the MEAC Flex Challenge this year is North Carolina Central and Prairie View A&M. Prairie View, actually, they were pretty competitive last week against Rice. And I think one of the great things about this season is if you haven't got the ESPN Plus trial for a month or so, I would definitely get it because you get a lot of college football games, including HBCU action. Prairie View lost to Rice 31-28, but they were up quite. They were up for a while in that one, and then but they get the North Carolina Central Eagles in the MEAC Swag Challenge. If you already know me, you already know who I'm going for. Go Panthers. Yeah, I'm not for conference unity when it comes to Central. So, um, I would say in the SWAC, of course, you got your Gramblings and Southerns. Prairie View look pretty good as well. I would also say in the East, watch out for Alcorn State. Even Jackson State might be a threat in the MEAC. A&T, still the Kings of the MEAC. They actually got a tough road test at East Carolina after beating Jacksonville State over the weekend 2017 in Montgomery. They got a game, man. The MEAC is loaded again this year. I mean, A&T is the favorite. Howard, led by Cam Newton's younger brother, Kalen Newton. They are picked to be second in the MEAC this year. It's going to be very different. There's no Hampton in the MEAC this year. Hampton has moved on to the Big South. Central is going to be a threat as well, and and yeah. So this is, like I said, it's going to be really really interesting season. Um, and we'll see how it goes at this point because um, we'll see how it goes. I think A&T Celebration Bowl. A&T will be there yet again against. I would love to see A&T Grambling Part Two. Last year's game was pretty thrilling, so we'll just see how it goes from here.
All right. So for my co-host Dwayne, I'm Don Delarente, and when it comes to this upcoming college football season, now you know the score. All right, brother man. That was like 40 minutes.
Awesome.
So
Uh,
appreciate it.
Hey, no problem at all. Hold on,
Um,
I might be wrong about that Hampton thing because I just looked at the Big South standings and Hampton was not there.
I've got to
Right.
work again this weekend.
Okay.
So um if you need to go Sunday, I'm not gonna be available. So we can either go Saturday evening or we can wait and maybe try to do it. I don't know what you're looking like on Monday since that's a holiday. I was trying to kind of stay away from that just to
Oh, I gotta work 6:30 to 3 Monday.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So and just to I don't know how people's holiday are, but
Yeah. How about on Tuesday? I gotta work. Um, yeah. I'm trying to think. So you said Saturday evening?
Sa- yeah, Saturday evening I get off at 4 and then I'll be home by 5.
Okay. If I can move, I'll let you know if I can move my schedule up We can do
Yeah,
Saturday.
just here's what you do. I'm pretty flexible coming up. Like I said, the only day that's really off limits for me will be Sunday evening.
Yeah.
I'm planning on to be coming. I'm going to go visit my parents.
Yeah.
They're going to be a couple hours away, and I'm actually planning on coming back Sunday evening.
Yeah.
So I'll be here Monday. So if you want to do something again, like in the
Monday.
morning before you go to work or whatever, or after you get off of work on
Probably
Monday, that's fine.
after I
Yeah.
get off because I get off at 3. I'll be there at 6:30. So
Okay. All right. So maybe we can do Monday at maybe like 5 or something. Give you a couple of hours to kind of wind down.
yeah, that'll work. Or 6.
Okay. All right. Yeah. There you go. We'll try for 6,
All right.
and then what I'll do is I'll put together a show here probably tomorrow, and I'll send it over to you. It's just basically gonna be just news stories. Urban Meyer and his deal. The Saints trading for Teddy Bridgewater. Odell getting his money. Aaron Rodgers got his money. And that's really about it, unless something happens in between now and the next couple of days with this with the preseason football and
Yeah.
some baseball type stuff. We may even sneak in some baseball stuff since it's September.
Yeah, baseball.
Yeah, I know you checked out in June, but it's still going hot and heavy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's been some trades and some things like that. Some teams trying to make that last push here
Yeah,
to make the playoff run. So,
I know.
but yeah, I'll come up with something here in the next day or two, and I'll send it over to you.
All right, cool.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, bud.